One of the common questions I get asked is, what are those numbers on the top left hand side of your thumbnail? Those are what my portfolio is worth as of recording that video. In the beginning of 2020, my portfolio is worth $30,000, and 2 years later, my portfolio is worth approximately $215,000. Now, this is not because I am a great investor. As a matter of fact, there's actually plenty of really good retail investors on YouTube, but there are definitely practical things I did in my 20s to help my portfolio go from 30,000 to more than 200,000 2 years later. So in this video, I want to share with you 5 things that I invested in my 20s that have transformed my life. And if you're open to sharing, I would love to know what are some of the top things that you invested in your life. And as usual, no, this video is not financial advice or recommendation to do anything, but if you do learn something new, it will mean the world to me if you could gently smash the like button somewhere around there. And without further ado, let's go! The first thing that I invested in that transformed my life are experiences. By that, I mean traveling around the world by myself and doing things that scared the crap out of me. One of the biggest challenges I had in my 20s was meeting new people and learning how to interact with people that I don't know. I was very shy, I was not broken out of my shell yet, so it was just so hard for me to have the courage to go up to someone, shake their hand, and just introduce myself. So when I was invited to a conference in Czechia because of university reasons in my early 20s, I decided to just say, well, let me see if I'm actually that bad at meeting new people. Now, since it takes more than 24 hours to fly from Australia to anywhere in Europe, I made the most of that conference in Prague by starting my journey in Vienna, going to Budapest, and then attending my conference in Prague, and then wrapping up my trip in Paris. I wanted to see what the world has to offer when it comes to history and opportunities.
And it was really scary traveling by myself.
If you are willing to take a step towards things that you're scared of, life tends to reward you with things you never quite expect. I was rewarded with friends who taught me histories of the cities I was in, and they gave me the confidence to be who I want to be and not what the world wants me to be. That confidence was a seed that propelled me forward, that pushed me to do things that I was uncomfortable with so that I can experience the full spectrum of things that life has to offer. Those uncomfortable things I did, whether that's leaving my corporate job or re-educating myself to transition careers into something that I actually enjoy, or reinventing myself by making YouTube videos, these are all a result of experiences where I pushed my boundaries, and they were the key to help me grow my earning potential substantially. Now, not everyone will have the opportunity to travel, but these experiences where you're really pushing your boundaries are by far some of the best investments that I have done in my early 20s. Education, especially the hard skills that will make you more employable, is the second best investment that have transformed my life. The truth is that the world is moving incredibly quickly, and how much you get paid is largely dependent on how fast you can learn and how much economic value that you can generate with the skills you've learnt. Let me give you an example. When I first transitioned my career into an education startup, there was a big opportunity in buying Google and Facebook ads for the company. At that time, there wasn't anyone that could do the job well in the company. So I went to find the best mentors I could and consumed any and every piece of information I could on the topic of buying Google and Facebook ads. When I capitalized the opportunity for the startup, the next thing I knew, I became the equivalent head of growth for the company and went through 2 venture capital funding rounds with them. The content I consumed on the topic of Google ads and Facebook ads, a lot of it is free on YouTube. There is a lot of actually really good content over here that will get you going. Not to mention that if you want to take it a little bit further, there are Udemy courses or Udacity courses that are incredible in giving you a strong foundation to do a really good job. Access to information is never the problem. The commitment to learn and apply, that's the opportunity. So educating myself to become more employable is by far one of the best investments in my 20s. But it also led me to the next opportunity, and that's building a side hustle with my skills. So as I educate myself to become more employable and continue to reinvent myself, I got so good at what I do, digital marketing consulting in ads and SEO became a side hustle. And a side hustle is the third best thing I have invested in my 20s that have transformed my life. It opened up a new world to me that I could get paid more on top of my job, and it gives me an opportunity to experiment and work on my craft more, which is crazy to me. Now, can you see the pattern here? By educating myself to become more employable, it created even more opportunities to grow my earning potential. Of course, this is very specific to my circumstances and my skill set. I am just trying to say that as you are educating yourself further, take advantage of that and see if you can create a side hustle out of that. It could be building dry flower bouquets, teaching a class, making clay pots, or even printed socks. The opportunity to do something that you enjoy and monetize is purely up to you. That is a question of willingness, not capability. This YouTube channel is one of the best examples of continue to invest in my education and reinvent myself. I didn't know anything about writing a script, recording, editing, or anything about YouTube, but I just wanted to learn, and I wanted to provide something that's useful to the world, and that was enough to keep me going. Now, if you want to build your own side hustle, I've created a step-by-step tutorial on how I built my own so that you can get some inspiration from it. I left that video in the description box below or somewhere over here, so feel free to check it out after this video. Once I started making some kind of money, the next best thing I invested in is learning about investing. Because like Warren Buffett says, if you don't find a way to make money while you're asleep, you will work until you die. And investing in stocks and ETF is one of the best ways for me to grow my money while I'm asleep. I will probably put crypto into that bucket as well, but majority of my growth really came from stocks and ETF. It's also one of the main reasons how I turned a $30,000 portfolio to $215,000 in a little under 2 years. If we look at this compound interest calculator, the initial deposit is $30,000 with a $5,000 regular deposit per month. And if we compound this portfolio over 10 years at a 5% annual interest rate, essentially the return on investment of this portfolio, towards the end of 10 years, you will have close to $1 million. At the same time, if we change the number of years to 30 years, which is generally how long most people's investment horizon is, because it can be a little bit longer, you can see that after 30 years, this level of regularly depositing $5,000 per month, that portfolio will be worth a life-changing amount of money. I know that investing $5,000 per month can seem like it's a lot, but that's largely dependent on our income potential. Now, it's my personal goal to accumulate $1 million of net assets 5 years from now, and that's why I invest more than $5,000 per month. And the reason why I could invest so much is because of the first 3 investments in this video that have transformed my life. That's also the reason why I have prioritized experiences, educating yourself, and also side hustles in the beginning of this video. Just because stocks and ETFs are right for me doesn't mean that it's right for everyone. You know your circumstances the best. I just don't really like the idea of my money being in a savings account, not really growing or moving because it generates a minuscule amount of interest. So if you're interested in learning more about stocks and ETF, I have plenty of videos in this channel, and I think a really good place to start, if you want to start, is my documentation on how I invested my first $10,000. I'll leave a link also in the description box below if you're interested. The 5th best thing I invested in my 20s that have transformed my life is my health. Getting your life sorted financially, that's great, but it will suck if you don't have the health to enjoy it. To me, there are 2 major components to a healthy lifestyle: physical well-being and mental well-being. On the physical side, everyone have their own preferences, but I fell in love with lifting, so gym membership is my go-to. And what's really interesting is that as I got more into my physical well-being and lifting more, my inner chatter became less and less faint, which really helped with my mental health. For my mental health side of things, I journal, I try to capture a lot of my feelings in writing so that I get a chance to reflect on them later. This is not to mention that I have my own support network, but I think the idea of capturing your feelings or journaling just helps with my anxiety. Meditation can also help, but I find that exercising regularly, journaling, and scheduling time to just chill out and not do anything have done wonders for my mental health. At the end of the day, You know your well-being the best, and you know how to deal with it. If you're not going to invest in your health, no one else will. Those are the 5 things I invested in my 20s that have transformed my life. And I'm really curious, what are your best 5 things that you have invested in your 20s?